you would have listened to us, you would have known that Kai France is going to knock the sonic rings out of that boy.
Welcome into Tapping Vegas, brought to you by Better in Green. Today we're breaking down UFC 310 between Pantoja and Asakura. Bobby, I know I missed it, but we've been doing this for over a year now, man. It doesn't feel like it at all. Like, the time has really just flown by. We did skip maybe what you think, like 4 horrible fight night cards that nobody would talk about. Other than that, man, we covered every single one. And you know what? We got to a point where we were like, you know what? We're even going to start covering those last horrible Apex cards. So I don't think we missed a card in, 4 or 5 months, something like that. Did the first year fly by for you two?
Yeah, it's been a while since we haven't covered a card. And I mean, with how frequent the UFC events are nowadays, which unfortunately the quality's gone down, but the frequency's gone up, it really results in kind of a watered down product where you have multiple events every month. And to have been doing this for over a year and have, only missed 4 fights, 4 fight cards total is pretty impressive considering how there's probably at least in only 2 months 4 events that the UFC puts on. But yeah, it doesn't seem like over a year now that we've been doing this. Highly profitable. Follow along. You're able to see it. We have interns that also help us keep track of things along the way too if we miss anything. So thank you to all the interns out there helping out with that. We really appreciate you being on the payroll. So yeah, I mean, it's great, man. It's always fun to do stuff that you enjoy with people you enjoy talking to. It's really a blessing.
It is, man. It is. And right now, also Better in Green, we're giving away $1 for every new subscriber we get between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So guys, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. Also, there's just not a lot of stuff for MMA fans out there. There's not a ton of content. Like, you can get a bazillion NFL podcasts. You can get a whole bunch of other stuff. We post MMA memes. We post our picks and predictions. We post just regular articles, just breaking down, like maybe breaking down a move, breaking down a certain fighter. So please, guys, if you haven't yet, check out bettergreen.com and consider subscribing. But we got 7 fights for you today because really we could have done more. This is just a really, really good card. Good pay-per-view. I believe last pay-per-view of the year. So good one to end on. Bobby, why don't you take this first one away, man?
We got Randy Rude Boy, can you get it up, Brown versus Bryan battle. It's going to be a banger of a fight, as Big Boppo would say. Yeah, Bryan battle, I'm a huge fan of this guy. I've talked about it when we've covered him on Tapping Vegas here before. Huge Bryan battle guy. Just think he's got a great style, very entertaining, very exciting, always goes out there, always tries to finish the fight, pushes the pace. And he's got that rare combination, right, of not only is he good at the game of fighting in terms of, the physical attributes and his striking and, grappling and things of that nature, but he's also really good at the promotion side. He's also really good on the mic. He's very creative. He's witty. He's funny. He's got that nice combination of skills that, as long as he continues to win and he passes this very tough test that he has going up against Randy Brown, he's got, potential star power behind him because so many guys and girls in the sport, they either have one or the other, right? They're either really good at fighting, but terrible personality-wise, terrible microphone-wise, that type of thing. Or maybe they're great on the microphone, a la Alexander Hernandez, but it just doesn't translate, to the fight skills. So Bryan battle has both. Randy Brown, I get Randy Brown's been doing a lot better since his loss to Jack Della Maddalena February last year, where he got rocked and then choked out as a result of being rocked on the feet. And he's been on a 3-fight win streak since then. Unanimous decision over Wellington Turman, round 1 punch win over Salikov, unanimous decision this past June over Elise Zaleski dos Santos. But I mean, yeah, I get it's a 3-fight win streak, but I'm just not impressed by him. I just can't lie. I just really like Bryan battle. I really think Bryan battle is the next guy coming up here in this division in welterweight. I think he definitely has a place. He has the opportunity to continue to make a name for himself. I mean, he's still young. He's only 30, 11 wins, 2 losses, 77-inch reach, 6'1". Randy Brown's taller, only 1-inch reach advantage going for Randy Brown. 4 years older, nothing significant there. But, I mean, Bryan Battle's coming off of punches in round 2 in enemy territory in Paris this past September against Kevin Jousset. No contest over Ange Lusa. We already know how that would have went. AJ Fletcher, rear naked choke. Gabe Green, right hook. Like, I mean, the guy's just been on a tear. Only one UFC loss to Rinat Fakhretdinov December 2 years ago. Unanimous decision loss. No shame there. But everybody else, man, Takashi Sato, Tresean Gore, Gilbert Urbina, like, dude's just been on a tear in MMA. And I think that continues. I think Bryan Battle gets it done. I think it's primarily going to be a striking affair. It's going to stay on the feet. Bryan Battle is just going to kind of use his good boxing to get in close on Randy Brown. And I think he's just pretty much going to do to Randy Brown kind of what JDM did, man. Like, Battle has some power in his hands, and it translates to the UFC, as we've clearly seen. He has that finishing ability. It's always good to see that translate to the UFC. Randy Brown's proven that he is susceptible to strikes and that he can be, finished by strikes. I know that JDM choked him out, but like I said, it was started off. He got rocked with a massive punch, went down like a Star Wars AT-AT. Then he got choked out because the opportunity presented itself. So I think it's going to be similar to that for Bryan Battle. He is minus 225 money line. Brown's plus 185 dog. Battle by KO TKOs at a plus 250. I'm taking that, man. I know it's a 3-round fight, 15 minutes, but I mean, that's what the JDM fight was scheduled for. I just think Battle's ferocious. I just think he has too much power. I think he's too overwhelming. Brown can definitely just be touched. He's not untouchable. He doesn't have crazy good defense to just all it takes is one. All it takes is one. I think Battle gets it. And I think instead of going for the sub finish like JDM did, I think he finishes it with strikes, and I think he gets the KO TKO. So I'm going Battle KO TKO to offset that money line. What do you think?
I think I'm smoking the same pack you are, bro. Watching that fight that he had in France and the way that he was just screaming at the fans, I can't confidently say if you put Imavov, Benoit Saint Denis, and Ciryl Gane in the cage with Battle, all three of those against him, I can't say that Battle would have lost the way he was just ending French people that night. Like, Bryan Battle, man. That was amazing. I loved watching that from him. I like Battle too. I like Battle a lot. Brown did move quite a bit up my board after that Muslim Zakov win that he had, because I really thought that he was not going to get that win. I really thought that Muslim would get that one, and he
14 years of that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking afterwards. Like, all right, maybe he looked a little slow. Maybe it is over for Muslim. And then, Muslim comes out and he looked decent. I know he got the win, but that was one of those that you're kind of like, against Ponzinibbio. I believe that's who he fought next. That you're just kind of like, I don't know. But maybe Muslim's not as bad as I thought he was after that fight. So Randy Brown was better than I thought. But I just don't think he's going to be Battle here. Battle's just so good. Battle's on one right now. Everybody he's fought lately, he's just put the pedal to the metal with them. And so I like it too. I will go Battle money line because you already took the method. So I'm just going to play it safe. We'll get out of there with the win.
I like it.
How about this next fight, man? We're going to be talking about Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. I know we should pick Sterling. Being American guys, you got to go with the American wrestler versus the Russian wrestler, but I don't think I can, man. Movsar just seems so good. I know he hasn't lost yet, but then Sterling was a champion for a while. Both of them, like I said, both have that wrestling background. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's going to play to each other's strengths. So who is going to have that edge in this fight? I don't know, man. I just think that the Russians continue to roll here. And I think Sterling, as much as I would like him to win, I just don't see it happening. So I'll take Evloev here on the minus 258. And that's another tricky thing about this card, is that they have these odds placed where it's like just high enough that you want to take a method, but just low enough that you kind of just want to play it safe. Looking at the money, 67% of bets are Movsar, 66% of the money. That's another thing. We're not seeing much sharp movement. And you're getting Movsar at minus 265. It's nasty. I'll take money line just because I think he would get the decision, but I'm not confident. Maybe he gets the KO. I doubt he gets a sub, but I don't know. What do you think, Bobby?
You're looking at it from a slightly different angle than I am. You're asking yourself who's going to come up on top if they decide to wrestle. I'm asking myself who's going to come out on top if this is a disgusting standing wine mom boxing event.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what my fear is that since that's usually what happens, right? When you have two guys who are really good at grappling. It's like, do they engage in the grappling with each other and make it a really fun scramble fest like Jordan Levitt, Chase Hooper type thing when they fought each other? Do they do something fun like that and they just, grapple heavily with each other and make it engaging? Or do they just kind of get scared and they just kind of make it a disgusting sloppy strike fest a la Ben Askren when he fought Damian Maia? That's kind of the like those fights usually only go one of two ways, right? There's never usually these mixed martial artists are mixing the martial arts here, engaging and interesting. It's usually disgusting or, So it's tough because I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be scared. I don't know. It's going to be hard because, Evloev, he does look very dominant. Obviously, Aljamain has the pedigree that he has, being known as a wrestler. And if it comes down to, all right, now we have to pick who's the better striker, that's tough, right? Because, Aljo is the guy who's most susceptible to strikers. That's how he lost his belt to Sean O'Malley. Did well against Calvin Kattar. Calvin Cater's only avenue to winning that fight was the boxing, but we already knew that Calvin Kattar had absolutely no grappling and no takedown defense, so we knew that if Aljo could even get him, he'd be fine. But when it comes to Evloev and he doesn't have that grappling to fall back on and he's forced to stand, I don't know if Evloev's good enough to necessarily be impressive in that regard. There's things I've seen from Evloev that I like, but it's all stuff from like the regional scene, right? It's like he had like a good head kick KO on the regional scene, but he just doesn't have, when we talk about the translation of finishing ability to the UFC, he's a guy who's a classic case study, and he doesn't have it. He hasn't had a finish in his mixed martial arts career since he was at M1 in 2018. That was the last finish he's had, was in 2018. Everything else has been a unanimous decision with the exception of the Nick Lentz fight, which was a split decision. Some people argued he didn't win against Arnold Allen. It was a little bit horrendous judging. I can't remember off the top of my head if I'd agree or disagree, but Alexei Nesterov, April 2017 was when he got that head kick I was talking about. So it's like, if it stays standing, it's tough. It's tough because I just really have no idea how they're going to come out. I don't know if they're going to want to grapple. And it's like with two guys that are just kind of this, it's not pretty to look at. That's for sure. I can't say it's ineffective because clearly it's gotten both of them as far as they've been in the UFC, but it's damn sure not pretty to look at. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not really technically sound defensively or offensively. So it's like, minus 265 for Evloev, plus 215 for Sterling. It makes you tempted to take Sterling, but I'm going to be with you on Evloev, and you said just money line, right?
I did. I looked up methods. Dude, if you take the double method KO decision, it takes off 8 points. Minus 258 to minus 250. If you do just one method decision, still minus 150. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah, you're just getting screwed because, I just don't think he's going to get a finish, especially against Aljo. I'm not a big Aljo guy. I'm not really necessarily a Movsar guy. He's not bad, but neither one are my favorites. And plus, we have a limited sample size of Aljamain at 145, right? This is only his second fight at 145 pounds. Yes, I just mentioned that he was really good against Calvin Kattar. But it's Okay, that's Calvin Cater, a guy that was pretty much tailor-made, hand-picked for him to have a good debut at 145. So I'll play it safe and just stick with Movsar money line like you. There's just too much on this that just don't make this as tantalizing to me. I know a lot of people, like I said, are getting sucked in to Aljo being a pretty good plus dog. Underdog at that plus 215, looking to make a profit off the money line alone, but there's just too much uncertainty around this. They could easily see that backfiring, so I just don't feel comfortable enough. It's kind of funny because that would be a relatively safe bet, and I usually swing for the fences, but this one I just don't feel comfortable enough on because I just don't know if they're going to try to strike. I don't know if they're going to grapple, and I just don't know if Aljo is going to continue to just be as effective at 145 in that limited sample size that we've seen against a guy tailor-made for him versus Movsar, who's been there for a very significant, if not the entire portion of his career. So
I'll switch to decision if you want to. If you want to do double decision, or do you want to do double money line?
the problem is the decision doesn't even really do much for us, right?
It takes off 100, but still, yeah, it's still minus 150. Would you rather just be safe?
I mean, we can go decision. If he gets a finish over Aljo, I will be a Movsar fan because I just don't see it. I just don't see it over a guy as tough as Aljo. Especially, like I said, O'Malley was able to do it because he was clearly the superior striker with the height and reach advantage and all that. Like, Movsar could be the superior striker, but we haven't seen it since 2017 and 18 is just what kills me.
Or hear me out, draw for plus 5,000.
This would be the most draw-ass fight, especially if they grapple.
Right.
Maybe.
I usually never say that, but it's just kind of seems like a fight. It's like, maybe.
That's tantalizing enough. I wouldn't mind sprinkling some money on it.
Bobby, how about you take this third fight away, man?
Yeah, so this next one, we got Nate Landwehr. And Nate Landwehr is going to be going up against a Korean gentleman. That Korean gentleman's name is Choi? Kim Jong-un. No, I'm just kidding. It's Choi Do-hoo. Nate Landwehr versus Choi Do-hoo. That's fun to say. Choi Do-hoo. All right. Nate Landwehr, another guy. Very high on Nate Landwehr. Very exciting guy. Make no mistake about it, though. Once again, not aesthetically pleasing to watch his striking. Definitely a wild man, just swinging for the fences, just going after it. But just a very fun guy, very entertaining. When we did our favorite fighters, Nate Landwehr made the cut for me. He's one of my current top 5 favorite fighters at the moment. Just every fight, dude, win, lose, draw, the man is just electric. Just like Bryan Battle, pretty much like him and Bryan Battle. The more I think about it, might be related, like long lost brothers or something. Both exciting, wild, crazy guys with power. Both really good on the mic, both really good at fighting. That rare combination of they have a great personality, very charismatic, and also very effective in the octagon. Fun fact, Landwehr, even though he's an American guy, just like Movsar Evloev and a lot of other Russian fighters, spent a lot of time on M1. So I always thought that was interesting about Nate Landwehr, that he spent some time in M1 as an American guy. Fighting in Central Europe and Eastern Asia and whatnot, like Movsar Evloev and the rest of those guys. So I just think Landwehr is great, man. I think he's really, like I said, not technically sound. Don't get me wrong. He's nothing. You're not going to write like a technical analysis of the guy offensively or defensively. He's not going to blow you away with some crazy, beautiful, technique that nobody's ever seen or it's underutilized or anything. But he's going to really get your attention. He's going to pressure you to the cage. He's going to make you respect his power. And he's tricky with his subs. People don't really look at him as a grappler, but it's because most of his subs that he's had, like his Anaconda over Ludovic Klein, which, man, how impressive is that you choked out Ludovic Klein, man. It took him to round 3. Performance of the night bonus he got from that. Choked out Austin Lingo, another performance of the night. The guy is just performance of the night bonus machine. And, he lost to Dan Ige, but it's Dan Ige. Julian Erosa, when he lost to him, Julian Erosa was coming back, had a lot to prove. Is concerning that he's lost to Herbert Burns, but that was his first UFC fight. I'll chalk that up to, debut nerves, and that's been 4 years now. He's recovered really well since then. Just knocked out Jamal Emmers this past March, round 1 performance of the night yet again for him. I think Nate Landwehr is just phenomenal. Very entertaining guy. Hope to see him continue to be on the roster for a very long time to come. Doo Ho Choi, right? So this is a guy coming off TKO win over Bill Algeo this past July. Majority draw Kyle Nelson February last year. And then before that was very inactive. I think he might have had mandatory military service. Kind of interrupt his career like Korean Zombie did when Korean Zombie was coming up. That might have been it. I'm trying to double check. I don't see. So maybe it was military service. Maybe he was injured. I'm not seeing why he had such a long layoff, but pretty much he had 3 losses in a row. So December 10th of 2016, lost to Cub Swanson by unanimous decision. 2-year layoff, right? So 2-year layoff, didn't fight again until January of 2018. Lost to Jeremy Stevens by TKO. Didn't fight until 2019, so almost another 2-year layoff because it's December 2019 before he fights. Loses to Charles Jourdain by TKO. Goes to a draw last February with Kyle Nelson. Only fights once that year. Only has fought once this year so far. This would be his second fight this year. So he's coming off 1 loss that he got. I mean, he's coming off 1 win, by TKO. He's got over Bill Algeo. But since 2016, he only has had 5 fights. This will be his 6th fight since 2016. And that is extremely concerning because, I mean, people wonder when it came to his military service, since he's Korean, how much of, the Korean Zombie, how well he could have performed had he not had that military service. This is textbook example of Doo Ho Choi. What has he lost due to that military service and just the other factors that have probably contributed to his inactivity, whether it's injury, just recovery, just rest, just not being mentally in it, whatever the cases may be. It's not good for a fighter when you only have 5 fights since 2016. You got to stay sharp. You got to stay active. You got to stay engaged. And if you don't use it, you lose it. And I know muscle memory helps it come back faster, as opposed to if you never had it to begin with. But, I mean, if there's one thing Landwehr's had, he's had activity. 2 fights in 2023, already fought this past March, fought in 2022, fought in 2021. He's been pretty active, especially for a guy who goes out there as offensively minded as he is, just kind of careless, just kind of out there just putting on entertaining fights. For him to be that active and that out there, taking the punishment, giving out the punishment, very encouraging to see, very good to see. And I just think there's too much going against Doo Ho Choi. Like, he had all this promise and everything when he was in the UFC and when he made his debut in 2014. But, I mean, he's only had 2014. And he fought once in 2014, once in 2015, and the most he's fought since being in the UFC is twice in 2016. I just don't see it. And especially when I'm getting Nate at these odds, I don't know what the odds makers are seeing with a guy this inactive and Doo Ho Choi, because you're only getting Nate Landwehr at a minus 135 and Doo Ho Choi's at a plus 114, and I don't know what I'm missing. What do you think?
Unfortunately, I think I'm as puzzled by this as you are. Like, basically, what you said wrapped up in a nice little candy wrapper. He's got 2 wins since his July 8th fight in 2016. He's 2 wins since 2016. That's not good. One of those losses was to Charles Jourdain, which is the guy we've been fading and making a lot of money off picking against him lately. You look at the money over here. Looks like 70% of the bets, 63% of the money on Nate Landwehr. And it's moved down a little bit. It's down to minus 135 now. I don't know if that's because money's starting to come in on Choi now because they see the value. But at the same time, he's just been so inactive. If you're looking at his stats right now, you're seeing that Landwehr clears this man that there's only one stat that's the strike accuracy right now, 53% to 46%. Landwehr is either leading or tied in every other category. It's just hard to not see Landwehr winning this fight, but just the money and that number is just really weird. Part of it makes me wonder, like, if they are trying to make people galaxy brain this. Like, I think people hate on Nate Landwehr a little bit.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Like,
people are like, oh, he's sloppy. Oh, he's
right.
this, he's that. Like, it's actually, you would think he has more fans by being as exciting as he is and as funny on the microphone. He actually doesn't. He doesn't have a lot of fans.
He's 36, and maybe if you just look at the record, like 18-5, 15-4-1. I just don't see it, man. Landwehr even beats him in reach, 36 to 33. Once again, not a huge age gap. I don't know, man. This is one where maybe we're just scratching our heads and it's like, you know what? It's MMA, it's fighting. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Maybe this is one of those. But I feel like that's not a good enough reason not to take Landwehr here. So I'll be on Landwehr money line, but if for some reason, if Choi pulls this one off, I'm going to be like, you know what? Vegas told us from the moment they put out these lines.
I think I'm going to go Landwehr, KO, TKO, or sub at plus 180 double method.
KO sub?
Yeah. At plus 180, knowing Nate Landwehr and his, he I said before, he likes to take a choice. If he rocks a guy, maybe he'll choke him out like he did Lingo. Maybe he'll choke him out like he did Ludovic Klein. Or maybe he'll finish him with punches like he did Jamal Emmer. But to get that plus 180, yeah, I'm all over it. I'm all over it.
How? How does he choke out Ludovic Klein? And then this is the number.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Maybe Kim Jong-un is really who he's facing. Maybe it's staged for the glorious leader, man. Maybe it's going to be like the Montreal screw job.
Maybe.
Screw job?
This was weird. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to be talking about Pretty Boy Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Yes, that is part of the Gracie BJJ family. Looking at this fight, man, these odds are massive, and it continues to get bigger. Minus 800 at the start of the show, minus 850 now. It just keeps going in Bryce Mitchell's favor.
I get it, but man, it sucks.
Right? 86% of the bets, 67% of the money, and the fact that it's like minus 850, I'm like, okay, maybe Vegas is helping us out a little here with that, because 33% at almost plus 600, Vegas isn't paying that out. I don't see, and with it moving, it's like, is it going to start? More money starts piling in on Gracie. I don't know, man. I don't know. And that line keeps moving. I have to go Mitchell here, man. I have to go Mitchell. He leads in almost every category. Once again, they're seen it on the screen right now. Mitchell just more active too. Gracie, like, he's the big name, but at the same time, like, he has not been good. He's lost to guys much worse than Mitchell in his time in the UFC. Now he gets to face Mitchell here. I don't know. I know Mitchell had like that pretty tough knockout a while back, but I just don't see him losing this fight, dude. Just, okay, you know what? Grappling, sure. Grappling only, okay, BJJ tournament. But that's not what this is. This is MMA. You can get punched, and then Mitchell, I think he has the wrestling know-how to, like, if it does go to the ground, I think I don't think he's going to submit Gracie, but I think he can get away. If they do start getting tangled up together, I think he knows his body and leverage good enough that he can get up and either get better position to keep mounting ground and pound or just get back to his feet. That's kind of how I see this fight going. What do you think, Bobby?
I think he might be wild enough to try. This card is just full of guys that I love. I love Bryce Mitchell. I love Bryan Battle. I love Nate Landwehr. Like, this has a lot of people I genuinely like on it. Bryce Mitchell's another one of those crazy-ass dudes that I genuinely like on this card. He might be crazy enough to try. I mean, nobody thought he was going to damn near submit Charles Rosa. I know
Yeah.
obviously there's levels to this and everything else, but so many people going into that Charles Rosa fight were like, he's a black belt, he's a black belt. And even though he didn't get the sub, he had good defense, credit to him. He made Charles Rosa look like a white belt. He made Charles Rosa look terrible, like an amateur, like he had never taken a BJJ or wrestling class in his entire life. I mean, he got choked out by Ilya Taporia, no shame there,
Right.
2 years ago. Yeah, as you mentioned, he got knocked out by Josh Emmett, the guy who has ungodly power, going up
Right.
against the guy with absolutely no striking defense and Bryce Mitchell. But I mean, it's pretty much like pick your poison here. Bryce Mitchell's better in the striking department. That's not saying much, don't get me wrong. His striking is still not good, but it's worlds better than Kron Gracie. And Kron Gracie, he came in with so much hype and just has done nothing. Kron Gracie, honestly, he's been an embarrassment. And I don't like to like pile on fighters and just like shit on them and everything this hard. But dude, Kron Gracie has been absolutely terrible since he came into the UFC. Like butt scooting, like the definition of whatever you think about stereotypical, disgusting, pure BJJ that just makes the whole sport tainted and look bad in a mixed martial arts setting. That is straight up Kron Gracie. The butt scooting, the just flailing down, crawl atop me, meet your doom bullshit that
Yeah.
he did against Cub Swanson, that he did against Charles Jourdain. Like, it's just been bad. Like, he was lucky that he choked out Alex Caceres. And then he's only had 7 total MMA fights, 5
Yeah.
wins, 2 losses. Has only won once in the UFC. Like I said, Alex Caceres isn't good either, but that was 2019. Lost in 2019 to Cub Swanson, took a long layoff, didn't fight again until 2023, and lost to Charles Jourdain. So it's another do or Choi situation. We've wasted so much of your prime and your potential for what? Did he
And
take all
Jourdain
that?
got you.
Yeah.
He got
Like,
both of them.
did he take all that time off and get better? No, because he still lost to Charles Jourdain and he was still doing the same things that he did against Swanson against Jourdain. Like, at one point, Cub Swanson in that fight, he was just body shotting them and just spamming the body shot. And it's insane how he didn't go down from how many body shots he took. Somehow, some way, with whatever weird, crazy, tantric, sex, esoteric breathing practices he had, he managed to not gas out, but he still just got handily dismantled. So it's like, what is Bryce Mitchell going to do? He's a crazy man. They're both flat earthers. So you know this thing ain't going last. It's not going longer than a round because the earth isn't even round. It's just flat. It's just a rectangle. It's not a sphere.
It's an
So
octagon.
it's like, what is he even going to do? Yeah, it's an octagon. Is he going to strike with them and body shaw him to death like Swanson? Maybe. Is he going to box his ears off like a Habib's version of doing his Muhammad Ali against Ali Quinta in a Walmart great value version? Possibly. Is he going to try to prove a point that his BJJ is better than the guy with the legendary BJJ name? Probably. Would he be able to do it? Hell yeah. He's going to pretty much have his way with Kron Gracie however he wants. It's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be terrible. So it's like, is he going to do KO, TKO, or sub? Because if you do that, you're getting it at a pretty decent plus 225. But then I'm also tempted to just say outright sub at plus 400 or outright KO at plus 500. It's just, you're getting so much value on this. Like, I struggle to see how Kron Gracie does anything different because he's proven to us already. All right, I've taken 2 years off. I've thought a lot about my future, what I want my future to be, how I want to fight, how I want to get better to not embarrass myself, and I'm going to do the same exact shit. And it's like, okay, I get it, but I guess so far I'm going to go KO, TKO, or sub at plus 225.
I don't like it. I'm gonna do the KO decision at the minus 450. I just think maybe Gracie can outlast him. Like I think he still loses, but I just think maybe if Gracie just like tumbles around enough, he can just run out the clock.
Maybe. And now I'm worried about, since I brought up the whole Cub Swanson thing, because it's like Cub Swanson has some power. He is a strong dude, and he was just, God, he was pummeling them. And he just somehow, like I said, tantric, sex, esoteric breathing. I guess I'll go. Yeah, I'll be with you on that one. Let's go with that. Maybe I'll come back for a haymaker. We'll see.
I know the minus 450 is disgusting, but what are you going to do in this fight? I mean,
Right.
even if you take him at the just straight decisions minus 200, like you're not going to take that. Just take the double. I like it.
Right.
If he gets the sub, though, I'm buying you a beer.
There you go.
All right, Bobby, why don't you take the next fight away, man?
Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Boy, they gave Gane a hand-me-down little here's a pat on the butt. Hope you go out there and argue winning, son, on this one, because this is pretty much the most winnable fight for him in the division at this moment. That still gives him a name, still gives him an opportunity. This fight doesn't move me nearly as much as the rest of the fights on this card, so I'm going to make this one probably the shortest that I can. What are you going to expect from this fight? Fireworks, baby. Pure fireworks. Two big boys just out there just doing their best impersonation of like a Billy Blanks Tybo middle-aged mom workout video you've ever seen. It's going to be a lot of huffing and puffing and just kicking, and just maybe somebody's little house is going to get blown away, but I highly doubt it, because, God, this fight just really, really sucks the air out of the room for me. It's who cares? Who cares? If it's not Tom Aspinall versus John Jones, who cares about heavyweight in the year of our Lord 2024? It's going to – is Ciryl Gane's name really Ciryl Romaine Jackie Gane? Or is that some Wikipedia fuckery? There ain't no damn way, boy. Romaine lettuce Jackie Gane. I tell you what. Boring kickboxing fight. That's what you're going to expect, baby. Boring kickboxing fight. These two dudes are going to be playing it safe. They're both going to be scared of each other. They're probably going to be shaking like a dog shit and razor blades. I just think it's going to be disgusting. I don't care. It's not motivating. It's not a needle mover. It's just, this is my bathroom break fight. And there's probably going to be some people out there, oh my God, how are you skipping a Ciryl Gane fight? I don't give a fuck. Or as Ciryl Gane would say it in French, je ne sais pas fuck. I do not like fuck about this fight. I do not like it. I am not fucking with this fight. And with the odds at minus 375 for Ciryl Gane, plus 295 for Volkov, fuck it. It's a field goal. I don't care. You want me to Ciryl Gane money line? Sure. Actually, hold up. What's Ciryl Gane decision? Because boy, howdy, I tell you what. Yeah, because everybody knows. Because what's that Drake song? They know. They know. Yeah, they know. They fucking know. So Ciryl Gane money line. Ugh.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I agree, dude. Ciryl Gane decisions minus 150. Oh my God, dude. They're just not giving us any favors on this card. They're making it hard to take advantage of them, but I mean, Volkov did just get that big win, though, over Sergey. You're not worried about him taking out Pavlovich?
I think the main thing that helped Volkov get that win was they knew each other in sparring so well. And pretty much Volkov knew, all right, this guy – I also think he hammed it up a little bit with his like, yeah, when I would spar with him, except he'd say it in Russian, when I would spar with him, I wake up, I no remember shit. I don't know what fuck happened when I spar with this man. He probably hammed it up a little bit, and he was probably kicking his ass and sparring. Because, I mean, when you watch that fight, it's like Volkov knew exactly what to do. He knew to keep the distance. He knew to play it safe. And he just pretty much picked Sergey Pavlovich apart, and Pavlovich pretty much got exposed as, all right, if you keep this guy at distance and you just piece him up with kicks and you control the range and you don't just let him bum rush you, you can pretty much cruise to this decision. You can just point fire him to death. So I think that played a big role in it. Because, I mean, yeah, now he's on a 4-fight win streak as a result of that, but it's over Tai Tuivasa, who is always just overrated. Romanov, that's not bad considering how Romanov's been up and down since then, so that's pretty good. Rosenstrike doesn't move it for me, and then no shame in being straight arm barred by Aspinall. Wow, this is actually a rematch. I forgot that this was a rematch. He's already lost by unanimous decision to Gane, but that was 3 years ago. So we're already at that stage, right? We're already at this stage where we know the heavyweight division outside of Aspinall and John Jones is so damn boring that we have plenty of other options for both of these guys, but we're already starting to recycle fights that haven't even been that long. It's been June 2021 since they last fought, and another 15-minute 3-round fight, and we're just like, you know what would be really great for this pay-per-view that we're stacking up to be one of the best pay-per-views in months? What if we have another fight of little importance and consequence to the division? And not only is it of little importance and consequence, it's also a rematch nobody asked for. Because, I mean, yeah, I know he has a Sergey Spivak win by TKO. Gane does. He got that later in 2023 after March 4th. John Jones sucked his soul out like Superhead. But, I mean, I just don't think the man's career is going to be the same after that. So I just am not nearly as interested in Ciryl Gane as I was when he was first coming into the UFC in 2019. He's done a good job in heavyweight, but it's just a typical problem of heavyweight. Once you finally run into an obstacle, a lot of these guys just kind of like fold under the pressure like Superman on laundry day, and they just never really recover. And once again, if it's not Aspinall or John Jones, it just feels like there's no exciting heavyweight matchups really out there. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. My worry is it's like the Derek Lewis fight, and he just gets knocked out at the end. But I'll go with the Gane by decision at minus 150. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's just the way. He won by decision last time. I mean, Volkov has decent defense. So, yeah, I'll go Gane by decision.
Yeah. I mean, at least I think he's learned a lot because he was winning that, Derek Lewis fight.
Yeah.
But that's also because Derek Lewis has ungodly power. And yeah, Ciryl Gane has power too, but there's nobody in that division that just has that ungodly Derek Lewis power. And there's a reason why the man has, or at least is tied for, most knockouts in UFC history. It speaks for itself.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Good point. We're talking about a lot of our favorite fighters today because I'm going to talk about one of my favorite, probably top 3 favorite fighters right now. That's Shavkat Rakhmonov facing your number 1 favorite fighter, Garry. How about that, Bobby?
I'm going to say some things later that are actually probably going to blow your mind.
Oh, I
You're
am
not going to
shocked.
expect it. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go through mine fast so I can hear yours. I really would like to hear you say something positive about Garry, but yeah, I mean, what else can you say besides 2 dudes, young, early in their careers, undefeated? This is just an excellent fight. I get they got Pantoja and got a championship fight to headline it. This is a fight I'm most excited for. I cannot wait for this fight. Shavkat, one of my favorite dudes out there. And then we saw early UFC dominated by, we had the BJJ era. Then we had like the wrestler era. I feel like we're like in this Sambo era now, where we're seeing a lot of these Dagestani guys, masters of combat sports. You'll see on their Wikipedia pages, all these Russian guys. Rakhmonov, I believe, is Kazakhstan or something like that, where he is from.
Gotta do your research. Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan. I know it starts with a K. Whatever.
Very nice.
Yeah. I just like Shavkat a lot, man. Both these guys have faced very similar competition, and whereas I see Garry's more of the decision guy, Shavkat's more the finishing guy. And I like Shavkat a lot. I don't know if he gets the finish here. Man. And, I really thought these odds would be closer, too. Having Shavkat at minus 375, I'm not an Garry guy, but that feels a little disrespectful for, both these guys, so young, undefeated. I mean, Garry's coming off, I believe his last fight was MVP, where he beat MVP, who MVP looked like he was going to be on a tear when he first entered the UFC 2 fights ago. But I'm going to take Shavkat here. I have a hard time saying he continues his finishing streak. I don't want to take the minus 375, but I think I will here. Just because decision plus 275, okay. Submission plus 180. I think that's like absolutely possible. Knockout, I think probably a little less so. So how about Shavkat decision sub? Okay, decision subs minus 125. Any double method with Shavkat's going to be minus money. I'll do the sub decision at minus 125 for Shavkat. I don't. Ian Garry, man, the decisionator. You're gonna say something good about Ian Garry.
At these odds, man, that's the main reason why I'm so in on Ian Garry. It's just too tantalizing, man. It's too tantalizing. And here, I offer you this. All right. Ian Garry, right? Phenomenon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenon. Whole career carefully curated by one. I don't even know what the hell her name is. Let me look it up. Layla Anna Lee, carefully curated by her, right? Even writes a book about it, how to secure an athlete husband or whatever the hell it was, how to be a wag, right?
Yes.
Carefully creates this whole career, this whole persona about this guy, right? Genetically engineered in a lab to be like the leftover residue in the bottom of a Monster can mixed up with the backwash from a Red Bull to be the greatest Dollar Tree version of Conor McGregor you've ever seen before in your entire life, with none of the pizzazz, none of the charisma, and all of the audacity and undeserved arrogance, right? So Ian Garry is coming off of an absolute dismantling of Michael Venom Page, the 40-year-old slayer, the destroyer of bin men and library workers part-time on the weekend everywhere. Do you know how fucking insane that is to take a guy like Michael Vicious Venom Page, the slayer of these individuals, putting guys with cracked skulls and Pokemon balls in front of their families on national TV, and you take him to a disgusting, gritty, blood, sweat, and tears decision? That's impressive, man. To be able to go in there with one of the generational karate striking talents of our age and go to a grueling decision with him really moves me. And here's why. Because I don't want it to fucking happen. Because I don't want him to win, and because the odds are this good, and because it would piss off a lot of people. That's exactly why it's going to happen. Because everybody's treating it like a foregone conclusion. So I'll get into some real reasons right quick and then wrap this up with a nice little bow. Shavkat, really good at pressuring people to the cage. That would have been great if this was Ian Garry's second or third fight in the UFC. But to his credit, as much as I personally hate the guy and have never been a fan of him, from the Jordan Williams fight, which was his debut, November 2021, right around that Neil Magny fight, he started to make a change. I started to notice. Daniel Rodriguez, it was over too fast to know. Song Keenan fight, he still looked bad. But around that Neil Magny fight, credit to him, he stopped getting backed up to the cage nearly as much. And my past research on Garry, my number one criticism was this dude gives ground way too easily. You immediately pressure him, he immediately goes instantly up against the fence, even up against like guys like Darian Weeks who are like making their UFC debut coming off the – I can't say that because, you know, I used to train at this institution, so I'm just not going to go there. But anyway, so he gets pressured way too easy. He started to fix that around the Neil Magny fight, started to add an interesting element with a calf kick to it, started to be really good at the clinch. The clinch was always a strong suit of his that he'd always had since his UFC debut. Good clinch work, good at pressuring people himself to the cage to be able to initiate the clinch, do that weird little, I can't even say it, the spicy little, you know, flailing of his legs, weird takedown, hold him against the cage wall install thing that he does. Really good at that, dictating that. Favors that high kick. He's a tall, rangy guy, has that left high kick, I believe it is, that he's really good at setting up, has some weapons to set it up. He has a lot of good attributes, don't get me wrong, and he is a well-rounded guy. The only thing we haven't really seen tested is like his pure ground game. We've seen the grappling and the clinch, and he's good at that when he initiates it. And when he is backed up against the fence, he got a lot better about, one, not letting himself get backed up there in the first place. Two, if he does find himself there, laterally moving out instead of just, you know, doing the Edson Barboza galloping around just to corner yourself again, basically. Really good at that. Really good striking. Like I said, head kick and punches over Daniel Rodriguez, ended up TKO and Song Keenan, KO Jordan Williams. The high kick's good. I think he's a southpaw predominantly. If he's not, in turn can do it. Thank you. Please give me my coffee next time too, so I can be mentally sharp and on this, and I don't make mistakes. That's what you don't get paid for anyway. All the things he does well are basically the things Shavkat's going to do. So you find yourself asking, with two guys with the same game plan, who's going to be able to go out there and who's going to be able to execute it? You know, if they both want to clinch, who's going to be better in the clinch? If they're both going to strike, who's going to be the better striking? The X factor is Shavkat going to do traditional takedown attempts or find some way to actually get this to the mat and expose, in the UFC at least so far, a relatively unknown mystery box of Ian Garry's pure grappling back on the mat, or he's trying to scramble, or he's trying to create scrambles, or he's trying to get on top. Like, what's going to happen here? That's the big X factor, right? Because even though he does have all these finishes, I can tell you for one that Jeff Neal rear naked did not come from how some people might be thinking if they've never seen that fight. That came actually standing up against the cage from a clinch position. He was able to work himself around to the back of Jeff Neal and kind of lock up that last minute rear naked finish from standing against Jeff Neal. So, all that being said, the odds are just too good right now with so much unknown with Garry, with Shavkat. It's just too good for me to pass up. I got to put my bias to the side. Garry at plus 295 money line is just too good to pass up.
I would have never guessed. I would have never guessed in a million years.
Hey, I got to put profit and accuracy in the show above my own personal bias. Because trust me,
You're
I
right.
really want Shavkat to do it, but you don't bet with your heart.
You're right. You're absolutely right, man. And right now, like, I always pick who I think is going to win the fight before I look at the odds, because I don't want that to sway me one way or the other. I feel like Vegas is really sharp on this one, and maybe they're going to get a couple of them wrong. And so, taking an underdog, I don't hate that at all, Bobby, especially an undefeated underdog at almost 3-1 odds. So, I like it. This next fight, I'm very interested to see what you think. Part of me says that it's between, I'm not going to ruin it, but a champion and an Asian country fighter. Part of me says that, this guy's coming in. It's his first fight. He gets to fight for the championship. The UFC isn't going to want their guy to lose to a guy that's in a different organization overseas. But then another part, I heard somebody saying that they do want that to happen because they want to break into that Asian market. And we've seen a lot of Pantoja versus Royval Moreno. They already tried to get guys, Tatsuro Taira, try to get him pushed up the ranks so he can start really getting some more Asian viewers, while also getting some new blood in that division. He lost, and so it's like right now, is the UFC, are they scrambling for the Moreno, Royval, Pantoja? They don't want to just keep rotating those three. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this main fight, man.
Yeah, so Kai Asakura versus Pantoja. So, yeah, Alexandre Pantoja, really good guy. Another guy I really like on this card. Very entertaining fighter. Dominant champion so far. Pretty much has been dominating the flyweight division in general. Ever since 2021, the man's just been on an absolute tear. Manel Cap, Brandon Royval choked out with a rear naked, neck cranked Alex Perez, split decision over Moreno. Unanimous decision again over Royval. Unanimous decision over that fraud Steve Erceg, whose name should never be uttered again on this show. If you would have listened to us, you would have known that Kai Kara France is going to knock the sonic rings out of that boy. Anyway, Kai Asakura, this is an interesting fight, and I feel like this is on a card that has some really glaring, inadequate, discrepancies in terms of matchmaking and some really close fights in terms of matchmaking. Like one polar extreme to the next. This one is a very, very close fight, and this is probably the closest fight on the whole card where you could just make such a strong argument either way for Asakura or for Pantoja. And what you were mentioning about, does the UFC want a guy, from another organization to come in, instantly get a title shot, be able to beat their champion? maybe it's kind of hit or miss on the UFC with that, right? So, like Brock Lesnar, for example, that's a guy who, when he came into the UFC, they instantly signed him. The man only had one MMA match, point blank, period. No matter what organization, they instantly put him in against Frank Mir, a legend of the sport, right? They clearly were hoping that he'd be able to just come right in and, like, they had no qualms, right, about, okay, this guy's only had one MMA fight. How bad would it look if this guy with one MMA fight came in and just dethroned this dude who's been in the organization for a while and is like on a legendary tear, right? Because Frank Mir, when he fought Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir, the dude was just insane. The guy was coming off of, I mean, he was 10-3 in the UFC, but he was like Anthony Hardonk, Dan Christensen, Tim Sylvia, Wes Sims, like Tank Abbott, Pete Williams, Dan Quinn. Like, he was fighting a lot of dudes coming up through the UFC, and he had been in the UFC since 2001 when he fought Brock Lesnar in 2008. He had already been a pretty grizzled vet. So it's like, do you want Brock Lesnar, even though this guy has a name, has a lot of fame from the WWE side of things? Like, once again, that's something against him. You want a guy doing fake wrestling, the drama, the male soap opera, to come in and instantly be your champion, to instantly beat a guy with 8 years of UFC experience. And they were like, hell yeah, we do. Then you also have examples of guys like Ben Askren who come in and they're like, all right, we're going to make an example of Ben Askren. You want to be in the UFC, Ben Askren? All right, we're going to give you hard fight after hard fight. And all right, we didn't expect you to win the Robbie Lawler fight. It was a little controversial, but we're going to make sure this next fight you have no chance. And so even though people thought he had a chance because it was against Masvidal, they got what they wanted, which was to embarrass him. They set him up. So it's hit or miss, right? It could go the Ben Askren route, and they could be setting him up for embarrassment, or it could go the Brock Lesnar route, where they're like, we want this Asian market, like you were saying. We want this Japanese market. We're trying to, one's really big over there. Ryzen's really big over there. There clearly is a market for Asian MMA. It's just one of the biggest barriers, and vice versa, for Americans to watch Ryzen, to watch One, to watch these, uniquely Asian promotions. It's the time zone, right? It's always the weird times and the weird scheduling. But if you could get somebody like Asakura, especially with him being specifically Japanese, like, there's always been a theme in the UFC where it's like, MMA is big in Asia, especially in Japan, but there never has been in the UFC, to my knowledge, an actual Japanese champion. There's barely even been Japanese fighters, period. Like Takashi Sato, we talked about, was one of them. And then there was the guy in the bantamweight division that fought Peter Yan, whose name escapes me. But there's not even been that many Japanese fighters. So this is their opportunity. So how do I see this fight playing out? It's tough because Asakura, the tape I watch, he's gonna have a learning curve, right? And you would think, with him being a world-class fighter and with some time to prepare, because he's been announced in the UFC for at least over 5 months now, you would think he has some time to prepare to the octagon, to prepare to the rule set and all that. But there's going to be some dramatic differences. You can't do soccer kicks. You can't knee ground opponents.
Right.
You can't do these things that I was seeing Kai Asakura get a lot of finishes off of in his highlights. You can't do those in the UFC. And regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the rules and whether they're appropriate, the only change that's been made to the rules since then is you can't be grounded with just your hands on the mat. So you can't milk that. But as long as you have at least your hand in like a knee or your butt or your back or whatever, or some other limb, then you're still grounded and you still can't be kneed and you still can't be struck. So that's taken away a lot of weapons that Asakura favors. He can't do the soccer kicks, and he can't knee or kick or ground opponent. He can't even do like the Kevin Randleman. I saw him when he's grappling and he has top position. He likes to do like the Kevin Randleman, like he lifts his body up in the air and does like the stomp knees on like the opponent's head, Kevin Randleman style. He can't even do those in the UFC. So he's going to have to deal with that. He's going to have to deal with, this is now in an octagon. It's not in a boxing ring. That changes the grappling. You can't just fall through the ropes and have to get reset and things of that nature. And the other thing is, this is the biggest X factor, is I've seen some really good takedowns from Asakura, and I've seen some really good judo from him and some trips and like some uchimatas, and like a single leg into like the little trip like Peter Yan style. I forget the Japanese terminology for that off the top of my head. That would make for a very interesting fight if he chooses to go grappling heavy with Pantoja, because Pantoja has amazing BJJ, especially his leg lock game and his dynamic use of the leg locks to not only threaten submissions, but to try to sweep, to try to stand back up to his feet, to try to just figure out, all right, how am I going to use this to do what I want to do and now make this an advantageous position for me and take away whatever advantage Asakura feels he has here. How can I nullify that? That is the biggest factor that would make this fight interesting, is if they engaged in grappling, because the striking for these two, it's going to be insane because they're both bar brawlers, right? Like Asakura, just no hands up, just winging punches. Just all of his punches are just furious windmill punches. The same for Pantoja, right? Pantoja, Jack Slack's article was like the bar brawling back snatcher or something, where it's like the man's BJJ is like a Ferrari that he just keeps in the garage. He just would rather drunken wine mom boxing. That's credit to Jack Slack there. It's pretty accurate. Both of these guys, yeah, they'll stand and bang, but it's like, are they going to be scared of that from each other? Because my biggest thing is Pantoja is great, and I'm a fan of his, and I like him, and he's been dominant, but he just feels like the most susceptible to being dethroned champion. Like every fight of his that I've watched, and I've even picked him in almost every fight, you're just on the edge of your seat, like this guy's gassing out, like this guy looks tired, like how much longer can he go? Like it's been very close, especially that Moreno fight this past July looked very close. And it's just concerning, right? And like he finished Royval easily in 2021, but in the Royval rematch last December, he really struggled at times, didn't look as dominant. And it's like, how much does Kai Asakura have in the tank, right? How much does he have left? Is he going to be able to, like, is his game really as reliant on those unique to the promotion he's coming from rule set? Is it really that reliant on it? Am I overhyping it? Could he easily make the transition with the different rule set and everything else? Like, it's just a lot different than Ryzen. You know, it's just a lot different. And it's so tempting, though, with those odds to want to go with him, because he is that mystery box. And it's just because I do know personally, even having picked him, how skeptical I am of Pantoja. He always finds a way, but it's just terrifying until the official decision's read and it's assured that he's victorious. You're just always wondering how can he do it? How can he keep going? And it's like that's why I'm kind of like maybe Asakura, but it's like I'm hoping his power is why he feels so confident and just carelessly swinging and going with Pantoja like that, because Pantoja doesn't seem to have the same power. He doesn't seem to be just putting guys out like that. I mean, let me try to see when the last, because he primarily gets sub finishes like against Royval and against Perez. But man, it's been 2 years now since he's had a finish. Matt Schnell, he KO'd in 2019, but that's 2019. Before that, right. Once again, 2019 is last TKO. I think he's just a bar brawler, but I don't think it's because he has confidence in his power like Asakura. I think Asakura does that because he's like, you're not going to be able to stand. If you're going to do this and you're going to stand with me, you're not going to last. So that's kind of what gives me some optimism. The biggest X factor is the grappling. If it goes to grappling, I don't know who's going to have that edge there because, like I said, Pantoja seems hell-bent on not using it. Even when it would greatly benefit him to use it, he just refuses. It's like he's got this little voice inside of his head that's just telling him, like, just bleed, bro. Like, just bleed guy just, like, takes over his brain like a monkey with cymbals, clashing it together, telling him just reckless abandon. The god of war and violence is automatron controlling this dude, just telling him to just bleed. And the same for Asakura, but I guess I'm going to go Asakura at plus 210 just because I'm tantalized by the mystery, because I'm tantalized at how he's going to do this. If the UFC is taking that angle of, all right, we're going to give you the best matchup we can. It's going to be challenging, but it's also very winnable if you have a good strategy. And for God's sake, let's please get this Japanese market going. You could be the first Japanese champion in UFC history, to my knowledge. I mean, hell, like I said, there's not even that many just active Japanese fighters, period, across the roster, let alone a champion in the division. They've been dying to do that since Dream went defunct and everything, and they can't buy out Ryzen because Ryzen's its own standalone thing, very unique to that side of the world. And I just don't think they have any interest. So I think Kai Asakura gets it done. He's probably going to be primarily standing and banging with Pantoja. He's just not going to be able to resist it. Like I said, the man should use his grappling, but he doesn't, and he's just going to get drawn into a firefight with Asakura, like he always gets drawn into firefights with people. And if he was smart, yeah, he would grapple, but I don't have confidence. Like I said, it doesn't make sense in 5-round fights. Every fight he's had for a while has been 5-round championship fights because he's a champion defending the title, and he still refuses to do it. So I just think he gets in a firefight. I think he gets sucked into Asakura's game, and he's probably going to get knocked out. I mean, I'll have to think about it after hearing what you said, but right now, Asakura, I mean, you're already getting great money line, and you're getting a KO TKO at plus 350, but what are you thinking?
I'm probably going to surprise you here. I feel pretty confident about this one. I think I have a good read. But I did want to jump in real quick, too. You are correct. There have been no modern era champs from Japan. So that's from Yahoo. So fact checked. You're right on the money, man. Okay. So bar brawling, right? Would you say bar brawling is a high level of fighting?
No.
I think it's just Pantoja's not a great striker. Asakura does the same thing. It's like if you had defense, you would use it. It's the same thing we saw in early UFC. We saw Don Fry and then the other Asian guy, I can't think of his name right now, just holding back of each other's heads, just punching the dude straight in the face. It's like, okay, they didn't have anything else. Like BJJ wasn't, as far as I know, a huge thing in the UFC at that time. Is just the toughest guy would win. Here, okay, he's going to be at the grappling disadvantage. Neither of them really have a striking advantage here. And one of the big things I saw with Asakura is he has really, really horrible foot placement. Like when he's chasing guys, and even like when, not chasing, but when he's stalking, I think that's another word I'm looking for, stalking and chasing, he is just ripe to be taken down. Right now, look at the money. 50% of the money on both guys. So split straight down the middle. 75% of the bets are on Pantoja. 25% of the bets on Kai at plus 215. So they're paying out 2-to-1 odds. 50% of the pot. That seems tough there. And then just, once again, you said that this is like, there's Risen. They have that fight organization. And now you don't come in and go to the UFC and you just do a fight before the championship. You're coming straight in to a 5-round fight in a completely different organization. Like you said, they don't have the ropes. This is just a cage. You're stuck in there. This is what Pantoja has been doing for years. This is what Pantoja is used to. You're coming over, and once again, it's the same sport, but you just change enough things, and that worries me. For 25 minutes, you're going against the champ that has a clear edge on you. Like I said, I don't give the striking to either guy. And then, once again, Asakura, could he get DQ'd? Because sometimes when you just get in the heat of the moment, you're going, is he going to do something that's not allowed? And then Pantoja gets the win there. There's just a lot that is freaking me out about Kai. So for Pantoja, once again, I kind of think Pantoja subs him. I really do. And Pantoja has just no finishing instinct in him at all, which is kind of what you were saying too. It's just, you're hoping he looks so gassed. You're just like, please just get to the end and win. Just get to the end and win. So I am going to do a double method. I'm going to do the sub decision. That's at minus 165. So it's not great odds, but I just think there's a lot going against Asakura in this fight. Anyways, Bobby, talking about haymakers, that is a big plus odd play that we give you guys each week to try to get you guys some money to be paid out. Right now, if you guys spend $5 over on DraftKings, they're giving you $150 if that bet hits. So please visit our friends over there. The link is in the description and also posted on our website, bettergreen.com. That's better, BETTOR green.com. Bobby, what are you thinking for this haymaker, man?
I think I'm going to go Garry, KO, TKO, or sub at +6.
Okay.
It's just too tempting, man. Just too tempting. It's not what I personally want to happen, but I mean, it's going to be one of those situations where I win no matter what, right? Either the guy I personally want to win actually goes out there and gets it done and his stock continues to rise, or the guy I'm not fond of wins, but I get to wipe my tears with some money.
Right. Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like it, man. Guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I believe there's one more card before the end of the year.
There is.
All right.
Colby Covington versus Joaquin Buckley.
That's right. How could I forget? That's God. Please, Buckley. But guys,
all you nerds and virgins to the 7th layer of hair.
Oh God, Colby's so cringe. I hate Colby Covington, dude. That's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Once again, make sure you guys subscribe. $1 goes to St. Jude for every new subscriber we get up until Christmas. Guys, we'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys.
Peace.